Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we're a couple days removed from the latest balance patch, and I will say, the Hearthstone meta, wide open, no clear best deck, and we got a lot to recommend, a lot of aggression, there's some control in there, and you'll probably be happy to know not a ton of OTK is all that viable outside of, well, Protoss Mage isn't even really OTK, but we'll talk about the decks that you can climb with, whether it's to platinum, gold, silver, whatever, diamond, legend, all that good stuff. If you enjoy the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like as we're on a road to 100,000 subscribers and that brand Bronzebeard cosplay, and we're getting awfully close. So hit that sub button, make me go brand. And I will say, I will likely do an updated best decks video in like a week or so, because the meta is going to be changing a ton. There's no clear outlier. There's nothing people are abusing like a ton. I feel like things will change a lot, but these are all decks that I have seen exhibit positive win rates and are realistic to try and climb with. So let's hop into it. We have, I think, 11 standard decks, 5 wild decks. The first standard deck we'll talk about, and this isn't necessarily in order of strength, but for the most part, the top decks will be a bit more stronger than when we go down below. Imbue Paladin does seem like a legitimate, strong deck in the Hearthstone meta. The buff to that hero power has been absolutely incredible, right? The Blessing of the Dragon, getting it for 1 mana, just allows you to sneak in so many more hero powers, and it just really stands out when you have like Dream Warden on 5, or you have it like on 4 with the coin. Getting that out, cycling through can be really strong. You have good late game too. Ursol is absolutely nuts with Renewing Flames. Ursol's just a crazy card, let's be real. And you got Malorn, Nomelia. We had that version the other day with Fire Act. I don't know what the absolute best version is, but this one seemed to have the highest win rate, at least at Legend. You got Zeph in there to try and, you know, maybe get some burn, some, you know, more removal, which this deck does lack. And overall, it's pretty fun to play, and especially when you get to those 10 mana dragons and the Briar spawns start coming down. Yeah, it's pretty hard to survive that onslaught. Rainbow DK seems to be one of the more, I guess, budget-friendly, like, aggressive decks that just does well. It's probably doing well in an early meta where people haven't figured stuff out, and you can punish people with, like, Eliza Goreblade, or Horizon's Edge, Foam Render, just a ton of damage, right? You have Corpsicles as well. You can generate more damage with, like, your Frost Strikes in that, and of course you have the Menagerie Jug, which will pop up in a couple of these decks that can buff all these minions, +3/+3. I remember when they added that to the core set, I just completely overlooked that it got a buff in its stats, and this card has been pretty darn good since it's been added to the core set, because yeah, +9/+9 potentially for 5 mana is pretty darn strong. And yeah, this deck's pretty good, and I think like the only real legendary you need is Eliza Goreblade, and everything else is pretty darn cheap. So a more reasonable, aggressive deck if you're looking for that. Imbue Druid still seems to be pretty good. It got nerfed 3 times, and that is significant. But overall, they're not like, you know, crippling nerfs where you're still running Shallow Dristle, you're still running Symbiosis, and you're still running Sing-Along Buddy. You're still running all of those cards because they're still pretty darn good in the deck. And the idea, ramp up that hero power, get a larger and larger man, and you can give it rush with like Charred Chameleon and get, you know, just that late game YOLO bomb in Fire Act and do some pretty incredible stuff. And if you were enjoying that deck before the nerfs, it's certainly still an option. It's not as good as it was, but imagine if they didn't nerf it, right? This is still arguably one of the best decks in the game. If they hadn't done like multiple nerfs on it, it would probably be like tier S. It'd be really darn good. Priest. So we got the Imbue buffs, right? Imbue Control Priest looks pretty not great yet. It hasn't been figured out yet, at least. If it's gonna work, it's not something I can recommend yet, but Imbue does see play in aggro. Of course it does, right? Where you have Looter Wing Messenger as, I believe, the only Imbue card. The 3 mana card is too slow for this deck. We have Menagerie Jug. It's a pure aggro deck, right? You're trying to put early stats, whether it's Brain Masseuse, Cat of the Day, Overzealous Hero. You can put that orbital halo on top of it, and then you can like maybe stick an early Papercraft Angel and get this absolutely stupid card, Spear of the Kildare, now with, it's a 4/6 potentially for 2 mana, right? If you have a 0 mana hero power or you imbue into it, just ridiculous. I wonder if they'll revert that at some point, but overall, yeah, this is pure aggression and it's doing well. But if you're looking for more value and spice in your Imbue Priest life, the Protoss version is also pretty good, where you have a bit more top end with like the Mothership, Artanis, Chrono Boost. We're also running Kaldorite Priestess, so we have a couple more imbues, right, with Lunar Wing Messenger, and yeah, it can win the bit more of the late game. It's not nearly as all in on the aggro, and as a result, the early win rates are actually better on the other deck. That's why I put it first. But if you're looking for either one, this one's probably more fun if you're looking for value, and you can even like potentially OTK in some ways with Hallucination and Chrono Boost, the Charger, right? You could copy that up and get some buffs, but they're both doing well. If you're looking for that, it makes me sad that of course they buffed the hero power just good in aggro, because it mainly just makes the hero power way better early. In the late game, it doesn't really matter as much, where control takes over. So yeah, kind of a flaw in it, but it is what it is. The only combo deck I would say in the meta, which is not a combo deck, basically, is Protoss Mage, where yes, Colossus. People, I expect a lot of Reddit threads about this because it's pretty popular. The deck is way better than it was before the nerfs. It was like sub 40% because it auto lose to Imbue Hunter and like all the other combo decks are faster that actually OTK'd. Now this one has a bit of time to breathe. You gain a ton of armor with like Sleet Skater, generating armor for tide pools, or you know, Shield Battery, Arcane Artificer. Can be pretty darn frustrating. And then you just, you know, you get that extra mana with Ysera, play out those Colossus, bounce them, and you can gradually kill almost any deck. Despite how much armor they can gain, the amount of damage you can do with this deck is ridiculous, especially with Bob the Bartender. If you get even more copies of either the Colossus or Brewmaster, yeah, you're pushing a ton of damage, and it's pretty hard to rat all those minions. So it's a gradual, eventually killing it deck, not really a one-turn combo deck, but it is certainly something people enjoy, very grindy. And if you're playing this, your average, I believe average game is over 11 turns. It's a long, grindy burn slash combo deck. So if you're looking for that in your life, Protoss Mage is the way to go. And that is Pain, but not as much as Pain. Demon Hunter is emerging as another kind of aggressive deck with a pretty good late game plan, right? We got all our aggro cards like Masseuse and Acupuncture and some reach, but we also have the Ball Hog into Ravenous Fellhunter, into Ferocious Fellbat, all bring that back with Return Policy. We have one Illidari, no Cliff Dive in this deck. Cliff Dive DH does seem playable, but I just wanted to highlight something a bit different. You can go back and play Cliff Dive. It's probably fine just at 7 mana, but this one's a little bit more streamlined. There's even like a Kill Jaden Demon Hunter. There's a lot of weird Demon Hunters going on, but I thought, yeah, we haven't seen a deck that's actually utilized Infernal Stapler, right? That's a card we haven't seen a ton of, and you can even redirect that damage with a Rana if you really want, like Acupuncture and all that. So yeah, this deck seems to be doing all right. Something to highlight. And I'll guess the last aggro deck, like I said, early metas are typically aggressive when people are trying to figure stuff out. Another really good aggressive deck. This was good before the patch though. Pirate Rogue. You don't have the Harbinger thing, but you have Crystal Cove into, you know, your freaking pirate, especially Bargain Bin Buccaneer. You get 2/5/5s, can give them Wind Fury, can buff them, and you still have their top end of like Shala and Fyrakk, because in Rogue you can just play Sandbox Scoundrel and cheat out anything. It doesn't really matter. You got your steps, all that stuff, and could be a very aggressive deck. The Water Cannon can push a ton of damage, and another very aggressive deck, but has a lot of draw, a lot more flexibility, I would say, than some of these other aggro decks. If you're looking for more control, basically it's still the Starship stuff, right? Starship DK, pretty good. It's not, you know, really changed since the patch. You didn't really get any nerfs, I believe. You're still doing like Exodar, kill Jaden, build up a big starship with the Exodar, can gain 1 billion armor, possibly kill your opponent with it. And of course with the Soulbound Spires, possibly get a ton of 10 drops and do some pretty absurd stuff. One of my favorite decks of the meta, very slow, kind of control-y deck, and can do some work. No rats anymore, as the only real ratable deck out there is Protoss Mage, and it's not super effective against it. So you try and, I guess, pressure him with starships or armor, or just eventually a lot of demons. And yeah, it's kind of my jam, but I gotta say, I'm kind of getting a little bored of starship spam after what, 2 expansions of it now. Speaking of that, Wheel Warlock, Starship Wheel, still pretty good. The core is basically the exact same. Curse Campaign is still worth running at 4 mana, where you could slap that onto Ancient of Yore, or maybe a Starship, all that good stuff. And the late game, of course, you got Kill Jaded, Wheel of Death, which I love when people try and call this a combo deck when you play it and then you gotta wait 5 turns. It's like probably the worst card in the deck is Wheel, but yes, it is there. It can help against, you know, the other slower decks. Kind of could just be that checkmate. And I think we have one newer card. Oh, this one doesn't have the mini set card of the 1 mana deal 5 draw card. Some lists run it, but overall, another deck that I enjoy. I like the grindier control decks, and it has certainly been doing some work and is still an effective pick. And lastly, I will highlight this. I'm not saying craft this or anything. I'll have a gameplay video on this deck later today because yes, Wallow Warlock, at least at Legend, top 1k Legend as well, has a positive win rate. The buff to Overgrown Horror has helped let this deck, you know, cheat mana a bit earlier. Get those dark gifts, then give them a bunch of mana cheat or mana cheat out Wallow itself and give it like charge and win theory and all that stuff. And I will say, if you give it charge and you give it reborn and it keeps all the enchantments, if you eternal lay over it, especially after you've discounted it and you can play both at the same turn, it will come back with all of that. And you'll want to check out today's gameplay video later today. It's a really fun first game in particular where my opponent gained a ton of armor and Wallow can still do the trick. And it's pretty cool getting like all the different dark gift cards. You never know what you're going to get. It can be pretty spicy. And we have like a little bit of control package in there with the location, consume, and can do some work. So yeah, definitely recommend trying it if you have the cards. Again, I wouldn't go out of my way to crafting it. Feels like a deck that'll fall off in like a week or two, but I thought I would throw that in for some spice. And you'll note I have no hunter, no warrior, no shaman on this video because I can't really justify it. Maybe hand buff hunter, that's probably the best bet. You know, the YOLO all-in one, or just the old discover hunter, hydration warrior, and really nothing for shaman, but they're not decks I would recommend for climbing, any of them. So yeah, I do not have those 3 classes. Wild also got a big shakeup, right? A ton of different changes, Void Touched Attendant, Paladin stuff, we got bans. It does seem like Pirate Demon Hunter, probably the best aggressive deck to go to replace Shadow Priest. Same idea, spam pirates, you can mana burn to lock people out, do a bunch of damage with like Ship's Cannon, Hosen Roughhouser, and your late game of Kurtrus. It's a rat hero card. It's pretty cool and can do some work, and even have glides in there to be toxic when you're out of cards and also disrupt your opponent. I hate glides so much, I really do, but I gotta recommend it. Paladin's still good. I think it's still a top rated class in Wild. We'll have a meta review like in a day or two, maybe tomorrow, just going over how things are going. But yeah, Paladin's still really good. Libram still seems really solid. Flickering Lightbot doesn't make the cut, but you still have 0 mana cards. In particular, Light Ray could be absolutely nasty. You have your cheap Librams, which you can, you know, couple up with Sunsap or Lanessa and do a bunch of work. You got your tutors that tutor your tutors that tutor your tutors, like we've talked about. But basically, you want that weapon, you want Aldor Attendant, get a lot of cheap cards, lock your opponent out with Rebuke and Cold Feet, and it's still doing really well. Another Demon Hunter deck. Demon Hunter's pretty good in Wild right now. Questline DH obviously didn't get hit by any nerfs, and you can get out really early with certain high roll scams, Irebound Brutes, and Vengeful Walloper, especially if you copy them with Philosophy. And of course, with that quest line, you get a ton of mana cheat, and you can draw your whole deck, get a Rana out, ramp up your Glaivetar, take a billion fatigue, and send it all to your opponent's face for that Wombo combo OTK. So it's got a little bit of everything there. Scam deck to try out, maybe Miracle Rogue seems to be trending pretty well again. The whole Arcane Giants, Scribbling Stenographer, everything else is just pure, cheap card draw, and the idea is you draw so fast that Zeph will be active in the late game, and you can Shadow Step that. You can Shadow Step these type of cards, get Arcane Giants for 0, and then breakdance them and get more of them. Seems to be doing pretty well, and if you're looking for, yeah, more of that like crazy kind of wild miracle deck, it is certainly one you can climb with. And lastly, XL Reno Mage. I'll just show this screenshot. I Theotard a Boom Boss from my opponent and shuffled 33 TNTs into their deck. It is so toxic, but it's effective. You got the Reno package to stall, you know, the entire game, healing, disrupting, Ziliax in here with Haywire module, perfect module. But you've got that Romath where if you go into your ATC and get out that Potion of Illusion, you can go infinite and maybe change some ice blocks or light shows if you've played some multiple ETCs, or, you know, you pupiled, you rewind. It's toxic, but it's a Zeddy deck. This is what I enjoy, is making opponent's life an absolute misery in Wild, in Hearthstone, and this deck certainly does the trick. You even have like Koldara Drake, which you can tutor with the Curator, and if you get that refresh hero power with Reno, just OTK. So probably gonna be my deck to climb to Legend next season, but I will admit it is a mega slow. It is a slow grinding deck. It is certainly not top tier, easily can lose with it, so play at your own risk, and also watch out for the wallet. There are just a few legendaries you need to play this deck. So there you go, ton of decks to give a try. Again, we will likely have an update video on this in like a week or so, because I do expect the meta, it's completely changing, right? People have not figured out the best stuff, and yeah, we'll see how it evolves over the next week. Maybe Evolve Shaman can get in there. Probably not, it's pretty terrible. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Good luck on your climbs, have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.